Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation Vacation Edition. Good morning, Dottie. Peace be with you. Thanks for hopping on this morning. I have to say, live from Sanibel Island, it's Wednesday Wisdom with Millie Preble. Good morning, Angela. Thanks so much for hopping on this morning. Peace be with you. As you can see, my background is a little different this morning. I am down in Sanibel Island with my daughter and her husband and my grandson. My husband was down here for a couple days over the weekend. He is back now, and I'm heading back actually this afternoon. So yeah, it's been great to have a couple of days down here in the sunshine, and it's just been a wonderful break from our winter weather. Although I understand it's pretty warm in Cleveland right now. So welcome. Good morning, everybody hopping on this morning. It's Wednesday morning. It is March. Is it March already? Yeah, March 10th. Time's flying. So good morning, Carrie. Thanks for hopping on this morning. It's beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's been a beautiful couple of days. The island down here is beautiful. And as luck would have it, there's sort of the perfect storm of the collection of readings that I'm doing and assignments that are in my classes and everyday life experience, of course, that have provided a wonderful opportunity for reflection this morning. And good morning, Annie. Peace be with you. Thanks for joining us this morning on Coffee and Conversation. I have my standard issue Kondo coffee cup here, very plain. So good morning, Ted. Thanks for hopping on this morning. So yeah, my husband and I had the opportunity to come down to Sanibel for a few days. And Monday, we actually went to a place called the J.N. Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. So if you're a kind of a vacation person that likes to go on adventures and exploring, that's kind of like what we like to do. We're not ones to kind of sit at the beach or the pool all day, but not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not, excuse me, not what we prefer to do. So anyways, we were able to go to this refuge place, and there's something on there called, there's a wildlife drive, which is, it's kind of like a safari, but it's in Florida and it's with birds. So it's a really cool, sort of like a 4-mile drive down this road that they've built. That there's a lot of common sightings, including a different variety of water birds and shorebirds, and raccoons and alligators and marsh rabbits and occasionally otters and bobcats. But yeah, we didn't see any of that. We saw a lot of birds, but we didn't see any alligators. Not that we didn't look, but yeah, we were not fortunate enough to have a live sighting. So good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Libby. Peace be with you. Thanks for hopping on this morning for Wednesday Wisdom Vacation Edition. So we went to this wildlife refuge place, and it was really cool. And the person that founded the refuge, his name was J. Norwood Darling. And I'm going to talk a little bit about him. So it's going to be a little bit of a history lesson combined with sort of some readings and some teachings this morning. So it's going to be a little different. But there's a quote from J. Norwood Darling, and he said, "Land, water, and vegetation are just that dependent on one another. Without these three primary elements in natural balance, we can have neither fish nor game, wildflowers nor trees, labor nor capital, nor sustaining habitat for humans." So it was interesting that, we kind of went to this place, and then I looked up some information about this man that founded the refuge, and also looking at some of my Catholic social teaching. That's kind of where it kind of all came together. And so, ever aware of my social justice teachings, I was amazed that this refuge was dedicated to protecting God's creation and His creatures and the environment. And so, as Catholic Christians in our social teaching, we are called to honor and respect God's creatures and the world He left us in stewardship of. And many may say, we're not doing such a great job about it, but this place is truly one of those honored well stewarded places. And I just want to try and show you, we'll see if this works, cross your fingers. I wanted to try and show you a video clip that I took. So we'll see if this works. So wasn't that cool? Thanks, Libby, for letting me know it was working. So yeah, I took that video when we first got there at one of the water. They had like these water stations, and it was just so amazing. And of course, there's employees, rangers there that sort of tell you what you're looking at and tell you what kind of birds you're seeing. And it was so beautiful, and it just got me thinking about our social justice teachings, and are we really protecting our environment and caring for God's creatures? So I did a little research, being the history nerd that I am, and I looked up, who is this J.N. Darling person anyways? So he was actually a top-ranking political cartoonist, syndicated in 130 daily newspapers back in the 30s. And he reached millions and millions of people with his cartoons, and he was noted for his humor and his political satire. And he caused us to kind of look at ourselves and how we are stewarding the land that God left for us. And he was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1923, 42, and 1934. He was named the best cartoonist by the country's leading editors. And it's interesting because I, of course, I had never heard of this guy before. So he was very much aware of conservation and politics, and they were his main passions. So concerned with pollution and the extinction of wildlife, over the years, he worked these themes into his cartoons to bring awareness about these things to his audience. And he was an avid hunter and fisherman. But again, he used his cartoons to point out that there needed to be regulations governing these sports, and they should be monitored. So from a conservationist standpoint, he believed that people should benefit from nature without damaging it. So he was really instrumental in efforts to block the sale of a parcel of environmentally valuable land right here in Sanibel. Hence, that's kind of where he started the refuge. And it was created to safeguard this beautiful land and the pristine wildlife habitat to protect these endangered and threatened species, because obviously there's, it's beautiful down here. And so developers see that it's beautiful and want to build a bunch of condos and build up the land for, their profit. So he actually was instrumental in preserving this beautiful refuge. And today the refuge provides important habitat for over 245 different species of birds. And also Darling was very instrumental in setting up some things from the government standpoint. In July 1934, President Franklin Roosevelt asked Darling to head the Biological Survey, which is the forerunner of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So in this role, he championed for greater responsibility for securing some $17 million for wildlife habitat restoration. So in today's standards, that would be almost 350 million. So think about the kind of effort that he put into securing this money to preserve the wildlife and preserve God's beautiful creation and his creatures. So President Truman signed an executive order creating the Sanibel National Wildlife Refuge in 1945. So a lot of the money that he raised was through this Duck Stamp program, which is actually kind of interesting because I remember the duck stamps, and they are still actually printing them today. So Yeah, Libby said, I'm so grateful for the birds singing this morning in Ohio. Yeah, I mean, what would we do without our beautiful creatures around us, right? So Darling for many years had he had a home in a winter home in Florida on Captiva Island, which is actually just north of Sanibel. And so then with his island neighbors, he founded the J.N. Ding Darling Foundation, and a refuge was created on Sanibel from the land donated by concerned citizens and then and then acquired by the federal government. So he was in 1967, it was renamed for him in his honor. And it consists of over 6,400 acres of mangrove forest, submerged seabed grasses, cordgrass marshes, and West Indian hardwood hammocks. So there's approximately 2,800 acres of the refuge designated by Congress as a federal wilderness area and wildlife service, and it's protected. It's been a protected habitat since 1945. So, so yeah, it just, my grandson is on the other side of the window. Hi, buddy. It's real life here. So yeah, this morning we're just kind of talking about our social Catholic teachings and our responsibility to steward, this earth that God left, with us, this land where we live and have our families and grandchildren and all that. So it was just interesting that having all this reading Catholic social teachings and having all this on my mind. And then we went to this refuge and saw this beautiful place. And, you have to kind of think to yourself, what is our responsibility to be good stewards of the earth and God's creatures? So many times we're just so overwhelmed by the ills of society. And, we say, gosh, I'm just one person, what can I do? However, I was just, of course, reading in my Lent book, Growing in the Virtues of Jesus, the chapter that I just read was on the silence of passions. Not being silent in our passions, but silencing the ego-driven part, false sense of our passions. And it states that our emotions are the motors of our actions, and that just the sort of our free-flowing energy is just nervousness and not effective. But when it becomes fixed on a subject or on a desire or a project and attached to an idea, then it moves to productive action. So we call this channeled emotional energy our passions, and it helps us become engaged and resourceful people. So I'm thinking, looking at this J.D. Darling, how his passion actually ended up benefiting so many others, and especially the wildlife area and the conservation, preserving this beautiful space for many generations to come. So, these passions really equip us for effective action. And so what is the saying? God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. So, this J.D. Darling, he had all these passions, and then he had neighbors, and he had friends of the government on his side. So he was able to create this beautiful wildlife refuge for, many future generations to enjoy. So I just thought that was kind of interesting how all the kind of the readings and the teachings and the stuff I'm studying kind of came together. And it was actually my husband, Bill, because I was trying, I'm always thinking a couple of days ahead of what to talk about. And he goes, well, let's talk about, this refuge. And I thought, well, that's a great idea, because it does sort of blend the teachings and our social justice call with our Catholic faith. So so yeah, when we do create these passions, and we have good efforts and good people around us, we can move mountains with God's help. So growing in this silence of passion, our efforts really take the form of love and joy and peace and kindness, generosity, faithfulness, self-control, all the good things that our passions are supposed to move towards, away from envy and jealousy and anger and bitterness and all that. So over time, our passions, when we really practice these virtues, they can gradually form more disciplined patterns in our life. And we can help us grow into our true selves that God created us to be, and to steward the earth and all its creatures well. So you can hear the birds in the background. Good thing you couldn't hear my grandson screaming on the other side of the class. He wants to come out and sit with Mimi. So yeah, I just thought that was a really beautiful reflection, especially with our social justice teachings about, are we really being good stewards of the earth, of this land of milk and honey that God left for us and promised to our father Abraham and all his children. And so it's not really a it is kind of an upbeat conversation, but we really need to think about it, and especially coming down here and being able to spend. We spent a couple hours walking through because it's a cool drive. You can go on the drive, and it's one way. So they encourage you to drive, like 10 to 12 miles an hour. And then if you want to get out, you can just kind of park your car to the right and walk around and take in all the sights. So it took us about probably 2 hours to get through the whole thing. And it was just a beautiful morning and a lovely way to see a lot of things that, I had never seen before, and enjoy nature and get some history in at the same time. So yeah, that's kind of what my thoughts were around this morning's reflection to share with you. So I think it's something that we need to be aware of, and in our ways of growing in the virtues of Christ toward the true self and the beautiful creation that He created us to be on this earth and to protect His earth. So I think we need to be aware of saving our planet for ourselves and for our future generations, for my grandson that's on the other side of the window over there. So that's kind of my call this morning, was hopefully this story encourages you to just do the next right thing in following your passion, whatever God designed that to be for you, and not to ever think that I'm just one person, because sometimes it was just one person that created the passion and the energy around projects that change the world. So we are all important, and we all have our role to play, and we all need to be cognizant of our call on our life, and to be able to be good stewards of our families and friends and the world around us. So that's my spiel for this morning. I just wanted to share those thoughts with you. And of course, as luck would have it, there are some readings this morning that match up. So I just want to end this morning in the Word of God. This is from Deuteronomy. It says, "Take these words of mine into your heart and soul. Bind them at your wrist as a sign, and let them be a pendant on your forehead. Teach them to your children, speaking of them at home and abroad, whether you are busy or at rest, and write them on the doorposts of your houses and on your gates, so that as long as the heavens are above the earth, you and your children may live on the land in which the Lord swore to your fathers He would give to them." So, of course, God's word always on time. How appropriate is that? So yeah, do the next right thing, Libby says. So I just wanted to do a quick little vacation podcast this morning. I'm heading out this afternoon, so we're up early. We just got back before I started the podcast. One of the things we like to do is get up and watch the sunrise. So we did that this morning, and collected some more shells for the collection. And I'll be heading out to enjoy a little bit of the sun before I leave this afternoon. I will be back in Cleveland later tonight. So thanks for joining me on the Sanibel Island edition, and peace be with you. Tomorrow we will have Greg, and Friday we will be doing another Freeform Friday. We will be recording more podcasts in the upcoming weeks, so you can look forward to checking those out in the future. So thanks so much for joining us this morning in our Faith and Real Life community. Each and every one of you are an important part of God's plan and a special creation in His image. So enjoy the rest of your day. Peace be with you, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.